Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Remaking Industry Webinar Series. Hello, Joseph, Camilo, Martin. I'm really happy to have you here. My name is Agustin Arroyo. I'm Wikifactory's content developer and today's host. And during the next hour, we'll be exploring different models and approaches for commercial product development. Hello, Christina, too. Your camera wasn't active. So just for everyone to know, this webinar series is more of a conversation. And if you are watching this live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, we invite you to leave a comment with questions as we'll dedicate the last part of this webinar to answer them. So the best way to explore this really complex topic is with inspiring examples. And today we've got 4 incredible guests that will share their experiences behind projects and companies where community and open collaboration plays a key role. So first of all, we've got, I'm going to try to pronounce your name correctly, Duchêne, Martin Duchêne for everyone else.
Perfect.
Founder of Mekanika. He has a master's degree in industrial design. He pays special attention to processes and how traditional crafts and industrial sector can be combined. After working in design studios in Belgium and abroad, he launched Mekanika, a company that provides quality tools that are open source, repairable, and modular, including their latest model, which was successfully funded on Kickstarter last month, I think. Then we have Joseph Klatt, who calls himself the business guy at Precious Plastic. Is that the name, the role name? I love it, okay? Basically, Joseph is helping scale the Precious Plastic global community, which is gigantic and I'm a part of local recycling workspaces into a network of financially sustainable businesses. They turn plastic waste into beautifully crafted products. And Joseph spent the last 10 years in the public and private sector facilitating sustainable recycling and waste management practices. Then we got, this is someone I personally know, we got Camilo Parra. So Camilo, back in 2016, you saw the need for accessible DIY robots for the general public. As you saw, you realized that they were only available to professionals at that time. And after lots of iterations, Camilo came up with OttoDIY, an easy but more expandable educational robot for all ages. Today, you have a Wikifactory community of over 600 users who have designed, I think, it's more than 70 designs, right? It's a crazy number.
Now we are like over 100, I think.
Okay, over 100 versions of the OttoDIY robots. Also, the product is also available in multiple shapes and formats. It's not only a DIY robot, but a commercial product. And then we got Christina Rebel, of course, co-founder and chief innovation officer at Wikifactory. I'm really happy to have you here, Christina, because I know you just arrived from a different conference and webinar, so I really appreciate it. And first, I would like to ask you, Christina, to introduce yourself and explain in 2-3 minutes what's Wikifactory, in case there's anyone watching this that hasn't joined the platform yet. So now it's all your microphone. You are on mute, I think.
Thank you for putting me on the spotlight there, Agustin. It's such a pleasure to be with you all, to have met you, a few of you. I've been following your projects, your communities for so long, and I haven't had the chance. It's great to be gathering around this virtual roundtable. Wikifactory is a platform for collaborative product development. We have a community of over 80,000 designers, engineers, product innovators in over 190 countries, working on products of all kinds, whether it's ag tech, to drones, to furniture, to machines, to robot kits. I love it. More than 4,000 projects, all very collaborative in nature. Projects are able to be hosted online. So the team, you can have your whole team on the internet working wherever they are virtually on improving and iterating on your product. And it's an absolute delight to be here with such wonderful cases of open innovation, which is fundamentally what I'm inspired by. I really do believe that that was actually the subject of the talk just now, open hardware futures, part of an Open Next funding program at the EU. And I really do believe that examples like yours is such a case in point for new people, new designers who may not have it entirely clear what open innovation could mean to their business and to their business models. So it's a pleasure. Thank you for queuing me in, Agustin. Look forward to the conversation.
Thank you very much. So right now, we have 3 different types of products or industries, one from each one of the speakers and guests. And I would like to start with Martin, because you're the latest one, the one I discovered the most recently. And what's Mekanika? How did Mekanika start? Because I think it's a really interesting story, right?
Yeah, pretty interesting, true, and pretty long as well. If I want really to think, the first moment we thought about that idea, I think it was maybe 2015. Me and my colleague and friend Maxime, we were already thinking about providing open source tools, like good bases that people could transform or adapt according to their needs, and also according their geography where they are located in the world. But we really launched it in 2018 with a team of 3 persons. So me, Maxime, and Roldan. I'm an industrial designer. Maxime is an engineer, and Roldan is also an engineer, but like more qualified now into entrepreneurship or business side of Mekanika. So we have that trio who then made it possible actually to really transform that idea into a business. And of course, the idea stayed the same. The idea was really to give the access to people to help them to create, prototype, or even produce in small series of objects or whatever they want, and provided them quality tools and machine that they could like make and by themselves, or order the kits if they don't want to make it. So that's the idea. And the anecdotes is that, to be quick, me and Maxime, when we were in 2015, we started a small business of design and engineering service. And we first built our own CNC. And while we were building the CNC, we just discovered that we didn't want to use it to make a business, but we wanted to actually make the machines and not use the machines to make a business, but make the business out of the machine. So that's the funny start of Mekanika.
That's great. And now that you mention it, it will be one of the main questions today. Like, how do you market your ideas when you're building something with and for the community? Do you actually want to use a specific machine, or do you want to build the machine and help people make awesome things with it? And the next person I want to, well, Joseph, you have a pretty challenging question ahead. What's precious plastic?
Good question. So precious plastic, or at Precious Plastic, we develop and design open source, small scale plastic recycling machinery, techniques, and digital tools so that anyone can start their own small scale plastic recycling business anywhere in the world. And we got started about 6 years ago by Dutch designer Dave Hackens, actually for his graduation project for design school. And he was looking at this problem of plastic waste, really seeing this lost value and thinking, okay, first of all, why is this such a problem? Why is this resource being wasted? And he really came up with a solution that was about, we're really missing the tools and the accessibility of the tools and the techniques for working with plastic. As plastic recycling, it really scaled from a or actually working with plastic, scaled from just an invention to a mass production technique very, very quickly in the 20th century. And that, because of that, you really lost the small scale sort of craftsman knowledge about how to work with this material, because it really didn't exist. So that also represented also the technology, so the machines for how to recycle plastic. And so what he did was create these accessible, small scale, open source plastic recycling machines, able to really make a new product from plastic waste. And he released those open source online, about 6 or 7 years ago. And the community has really grown over that time. Today we have over 400 workspaces around the world that are using our technology and techniques to recycle plastic locally into new products. And we have grown this big community over those years. It's kind of been a slow growth, but now we have a really flourishing community that uses our machines, and also pushes the design of the new machines as well. Something we're working on all the time is how do we work with the community as well as kind of manage the community from our point of view as like the umbrella organization of precious plastic. So that's kind of an overview of where we are and who we are.
Thank you very much for the introduction. For anyone that doesn't know, that is interested in plastic recycling and sustainability, Precious Plastic is the way to go. In fact, I've been involved for the last years, and I must say that even though the core members of the Precious Plastic Initiative are incredible people, the community is just excellent, like to the point of they come up with new ideas every day, every week, and it's difficult to manage everything. I understand you because I'm part of that crazy community. And then we have Camilo. Camilo is one of you are like maybe the biggest or one of the most relevant organizations on Wikifactory. And what's your story? What's OttoDIY?
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. It's an honor if it's the biggest one. We really leverage a lot with Wikifactory. It was really helpful for us to add the documentation. But before I talk about that, I was hearing to the other guys' stories, and somehow I see it's kind of like it's very similar, because basically what I did is like I saw a problem that there were not accessible tools for something or accessible parts to make robots in my case. I am an engineer. I studied product design engineering, and I graduated and I had this like love for robots. But every time I wanted to build one or create in different sizes, it doesn't matter, it didn't work, right? So like I was going a lot to hackerspaces to learn the skills to make robots. Over the years, it started to get easier, and that's why, if I was talking back in 2016, it was a different story. But at least there was already Arduino, there was already 3D printing. So once all these technologies come together, it made it much easier. But before, it was like, okay, you have to buy a very expensive robot, you have to buy very expensive parts, and then no idea how to put them together, right? So then at the beginning, it was just a hobby. I wanted to do my own robot, right? I have fun. I always love to make toys. So kind of like small robots and related to toys. And together with my skills as a designer, the 3D part was kind of like easier for me. And I just started to learn electronics, put things together. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make it open source because I just want to see how the open source world is, right? That was the beginning, just for fun as a maker. And eventually I started to like have some response, quite active, and around the world, people making robots everywhere, replicating them, making remixes, redesigning, changing it, using it in applications that I didn't imagine. And I was like, well, I have to build a community around this. Let's make a website. Let's make more like promotions, more events, and let's make more new designs, continuing the documentation, making it more easier every time for people to make their own robots, no matter where they are. So like I just like try to find out the accessible components, very simple 3D prints, a very simple code, very easy process to get from parts to a robot. We manage now to do it in less than 30 minutes. You can build your robot if you have all the parts in front of you. Something that before it took me months to make one robot, you know? So like many people maybe can relate. Now it's kind of like we're crossing that boundary. That's kind of like a toy, but we want to keep it in the educational part. So over the years, we saw like it was always there, actually, like the need that this could be a very good educational tool. And it is. People started to use it in schools, the teachers, now even in universities, people is using it. And we are like aiming to that part now, into the STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and also design, all of these topics, to have the robot as the center tool for learning all these important future skills.
That's great. It's as you already mentioned, like all three of you have something in common, is that you all started with a very specific problem you wanted to tackle, like how can we solve the plastic waste issue? How can we make making more accessible? How can we make educational robotics more accessible? And that's really inspiring from the community, because customers and users already see the value when joining those communities. They see that you are really trying to solve their problems, and that's really inspiring, and the reason why I follow you, because I truly believe in what you are doing. But today I want to start with the most like difficult question to answer, and it's how can you create a sustainable business out of a product that is non-patented? Because I'm aware that on this planet right now, 2021, patents play a key role, and it's what motivates large corporations. But when you start from the bottom, trying to solve a quite challenging problem, maybe you decide to ignore the common rules, which are the patent laws, and use open technologies. So, for example, Martin, how are you tackling that? Because I know the CNC industry, for example, there are many big players, and how did you manage to build a sustainable business around it?
Yeah, it's, as you said, maybe the most difficult question to answer. Patent is something who was invented years and years ago to protect really the person who had the idea. Now we are in 2021. IDs are really like traveling super fast and are not really valuable. It doesn't belong to someone. In the CNC field, let's say that, as you said, there are a lot of actors. Locally, you always have those big resellers of super huge machine who cost thousands of euros and seems to be, I mean, really not fitting to everyone's needs. So the idea to get that machine, especially, I mean, that's the whole thing of Mekanika, having open source machine, but especially in CNC, what I think is that if you create a good base for people, even if it's not patent, I mean, we are really working a lot on those machines, and what's really hard to replicate is all the work we put in Mekanika and all the work we put in the objects we create. We can at that moment then give that basis, because people will work on that base and create new thing. So the business is sustainable because people are actually maybe buying the base we are proposing them and working on that base. What we love is when we see people starting from scratch at the exact opposite place of the world. Especially we have people in India or South Africa building our CNC exactly the same way with our drawings, and they are trying to find the part they have locally, and they are changing different things. And so the thing is, then you have two parts. You have people who want CNC, and they will never build it from scratch by themselves. What they want is the tool, and they are really okay to have a tool that they can modify in the future. And some other want to have the drawings because they are able to build it from scratch. And it's not exactly the same target. It's not exactly the same people. So it's not the fact that it's patent or not patent who really make it. And I guess it's even more powerful to having it non-patented.
Yeah, I completely understand that what you are offering is just a quality product, and customers, like people that are going to tweak, modify, or upgrade the machines on their own, they aren't really interested in that. In fact, they want a company that supports that type of behavior, like user-generated or user-driven upgrades, where the manufacturer isn't limiting the potential of the equipment. That's a really nice company philosophy. There you have. And I want to ask you now, Camilo, how did you go from a hobby project to a sustainable business, and how are you working with the community there?
Yeah, that's also a great question for me. Well, it started first like, okay, I made this robot and just share it. And then people started to say like, do you sell it? And it started from there. I mean, like people really need it. There was a demand in the market for this type of robots. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can sell it to you. And then you just have to start to figure out all the process from a DIY project to an actual product, which is quite big. As people imagine, people think that you just 3D print and it's really a product. I know, but there's a lot of things to overcome there. So then it's more of a marketing way and trying to really logistics problems, which is the most difficult part, I think, in the business. And then from there, it just like started like a snowball, started to grow, and open source just helped to like build that, because more people share. Even if more people were already like replicating it, like there were people selling it in China. At the beginning, I have to be honest, that I was like, oh, what do you mean? Like there's people making money from my designs. And like, of course, like I was expecting it because it's open source at the end, but it's difficult. It's different when you actually see it. But that just, I took it in my advantage. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sell it then too. And let's see who sells more, you know? So it started to be a competition, and it's my own product, but made by others. And you have to compete with brand, with quality, with speed, with price. At the beginning I was trying, but then I was like, well, I think it's a lost battle. And also because it's just going to lower the quality of the product at the end, because it's a battle of who used less material to produce the product, or who used the cheapest parts to make that product. And that was not the idea. The idea was to make a good product, right? And from there, I cannot say that we have a fully sustainable business. Well, we are 3 people, but at least for the 3 people, it's sustainable, yes. But I believe there's a lot of things to learn still, and I wish to learn from the other guys, especially from Precious Plastics, because I know they have a bigger team and they manage the business parts quite well.
That's really good to hear. Yeah, the term sustainable business is quite relative. Maybe it's a company of just one person that collaborates with freelancers, or that outsources production. There are many different types of business model. And Joseph, I know that this question may not completely apply to Precious Plastic, because is Precious Plastic aiming to be a sustainable business, or is there any, or what's Precious Plastic approach on being sustainable?
Yes, it's a great question. So the majority of Precious Plastic, it was really just kind of run by one guy, which was the founder, Dave. And yeah, he would release these designs online and then kind of watch just what the community would do. But there wasn't really a need to set up an organization around it, because we really had no overhead costs. However, we in 2018, we had like this whole year of development where we had 100 people from around the world come and work on developing some new website, a bunch of cool stuff. And at the end of that year, there was a few of us that stuck around and said, why don't we really turn this into a sustainable organization that could work on the designs over time, manage the community, and really turn it, help it flourish even more. So at that point, then we decided, let's try to turn this into a sustainable business. Also because it's part of what we preach. We preach to our community the more that you can become a sustainable business using our machines, the more that you can be sustainable and really, recycle plastic on a long-term basis. But we had never really done that ourselves. So that's really been the challenge over the last 18 months for us as Precious Plastic is, how do we turn this idea, this community, this open source craziness, how do we turn that into a sustainable business model? And we are still right in the middle of figuring that out. But the good thing is that because we were just open source, free, everything is free, we built this huge community around that idea. And that helped us from a brand perspective a lot. Then, when people were searching about plastic recycling, they would come to Precious Plastic. And we really became the sort of face for DIY maker, small scale plastic recycling almost around the world. And then, when we had to think about, okay, how do we turn this into a sustainable business? We had that incredible brand asset, incredible knowledge within our community. So now we're kind of, in the monetization phase. And that's been a really fun journey. And it's really has to, how do we capitalize on knowledge in that brand in a way that's good for our community, pushing the designs forward, etc., but also can help us be a sustainable organization over time as well.
Yeah, it's quite tricky in the Precious Plastic case as it started as an open initiative where being profitable wasn't the main goal, but then suddenly, as part of the Precious Plastic community, as a Precious Plastic community member, I said, hey, I want this organization to be sustainable. I want Joseph, you to be there always because you add a ton of value. Because what most people struggle with is getting started. And this is connected with the second question I want to ask all of you, which is quite interesting for all the people that is watching this live, and this: does open source provide more ways for marketing your product? Like, one product can be sold already assembled as a kit, or maybe a 3D printable file. There are many different ways to monetize or to capitalize that content, those ideas. And Joseph, I want to start asking you again, so you can continue answering the first question, I would say. Which different revenue streams has Precious Plastic found at the moment? Because I know there are many of them.
Yes, so what the example that we really looked at heavily was Arduino. And they have two main revenue streams. They sell the machine or the boards directly, but then they also have basically an arm where they partner with companies and they provide their expertise to really do kind of custom projects. And we have always had a sort of philosophy of not selling our machines directly. We've always been trying to build up what we call our machine shops around the world that they build our machines. So we knew, okay, it's difficult for us to just say, okay, now we're selling machines. So we've really focused on that other side, which is how do we work with other organizations around the world that want to start their own small-scale plastic recycling project, and how do we do projects with them, and how does that become our sustainable revenue source? And that is basically what the model we've stuck with. We're still kind of figuring out the exact wording, the exact way to market it, etc. But that has really worked, and it enabled us to essentially go from a total foundation nonprofit model to a scalable, profitable business quite quickly. And it was because of that marketing, to your point earlier, that's why we've been able to be successful. And one of the marketing components is that we never trademarked or copyrighted the name Precious Plastic. And in fact, we encouraged people to take on, Precious Plastic Shanghai, Precious Plastic Paris, Precious Plastic Barcelona, whatever. And that, immediately puts the name out everywhere. And that was a huge marketing benefit for us. I think it was not even the intention of Dave, but me as the business person coming in later, I say, great, people already know our name all around the world.
Yeah. Well, for all of you, just to for everyone to understand, the precious plastic machines, I think you have the starter kits, so people can actually get the machines right now. But then you are supporting all the distributed community, so they can generate their own business models locally, right? But one very interesting thing, and this is something I wanted to mention, is that, for example, the Precious Plastic has their own Patreon page, so people can actually support every month the initiative without getting like anything in return. It may be news, maybe some merchandising, but that's a really good approach to support the idea and not a specific product, which may not be too scalable, but it's a really interesting approach when you are getting started. And in your case, Camilo, with OttoDIY, how many different kits and business approaches do you have? Because there are infinite possibilities, I guess.
Yeah, and we are still exploring. I think we are in similar situation like Joseph. We also try to like say like, hey, it's okay. You can replicate Otto, you can sell Otto, but let's do something together, and not trying to like charge money of that even to them, but trying to, for the example, oh, there's some event in Mexico, and IBM is gonna be there, and they want 100 robots, so we do it together. And those are things that have been on the table, but I have to say like we have not achieved. I believe we can go towards that, because the way Otto was at the beginning, I mean, the first kits, I didn't sell them just like, oh, here's the kit. I sold a workshop with the kit. That was the first like official sale I made of 10 Ottos. It was like, there was a hackerspace in Shanghai, and we're like, okay, let's do a workshop about how to build your own robot, right? And then it was 2 hours. I provide the kits are included in the workshop, and we actually technically charged the workshop. That we knew doing through the years, like sporadically, but we were doing it only where I was. Like maybe some people started to do it on their own as well. But of course, after last year, I mean, since last year, this has not been possible. So then we were actually very happy that the online sales were our main income source. Otherwise, we wouldn't survive what happened last year. So thanks to that, we really pushed the e-commerce side of the business. That's how we really like stand as a sustainable project. So like the kits really save us. Right now we have more than maybe 4 kits. We have been testing lots of kind of combinations, and we are still testing more. The good thing is like we are 3D printing. So like for us, it's very easy to change the designs and put it already into the eShop. We don't have, it takes us sometimes more time to do the product description or the photos itself, you know, or like the videos, than actually developing the product. Something that is interesting because like, I mean, usually companies take years developing products, right? So for us, it's more like, yeah, let's do the right marketing and the right stuff. Hopefully in the future, we will have someone in the team like you, Agustin, that can help us with the pictures and the videos. I don't know, because that would be great. Like we have like sometimes moments that like we have lots of ideas and we would love to put them online to sell. And we just like have to spend a lot of time in making great marketing content. Answering the question, I mean, open source by itself, it gives you like the best marketing tool. I mean, it's just you put open source there and it drives much more visitors. It helps you with the search. The problem is that many people is abusing of that. So like I see that many projects, they put open source and they are actually not. So that's something that sometimes I try to like battle and like try to like do the right ethics of the open source philosophy, right? But well, anybody in their own business, but at least we make sure that we are doing the right thing.
Yeah, I guess that also when you are working so closely with a community, at some point, for example, a designer interested in robots may want to modify Otto, but just the product shell a really nice design, and maybe they can actually commercialize the 3D model of that upgrade, and then it would generate also a sustainable business for the community itself, in a similar way as Precious Plastic. And Martin, in your case, so I know Mekanika focuses on the hardware, but how did you manage? Are you offering any services related or around the products also? Because you mentioned that Mekanika started as a consulting service and then you moved to hardware. So I'm not sure if you are in between of those two.
Yeah, actually, it has been a question on the table for a long time. Now we decided not to do both because it's two different type of businesses doing services or selling products. It's definitely different the way you organize the teams and the resources and logistics and everything and your time. But at the very beginning of Mekanika, we were really pushing the open source side of the project and really trying to build the community first, and a bit like Precious Plastic, just like drop it and see what happens at the very beginning. We are also designing tools and we'll see how people will use it and transform it. But we were, oppressed just by the thing that we had to live from that at that moment. We had to make a bit of money out of Mekanika to be able to continue and to be sure that Mekanika is not dying, because we were giving everything. So we were also selling kits, and then we decided to relegate the open source side a bit on the second zone, and we tried to focus more on trying to sell our kits and make the Mekanika tools used more than just wait and see what's going to happen, if people will use it or not. So we decided to push it a bit more and try to sell kits as much as we can to really make those tools used by people. And now I have to say we are in that moment where we are more focusing as a normal product business. We are trying to sell our tools. Of course, they are still free to download, and we're going to help you to build a machine if you want to. But we really try to build the community, not by giving the drawings and wait that people to make the machine, but by selling those machines and having a huge plot of persons using our tools. And then I hope, and that's really what I want to do out of Mekanika in few months or years, I don't know yet, we'll come back to that community and try to really organize components libraries, really listen to people who want to create specific tools for specific needs based on the way we build it. So I must say, yes, open source is a good marketing tool. Not only, of course, as Camilo said, some are really abusing that term. But it's also really difficult to be entirely open source if we really want to hear about the pure open source. We give it everything and we wait. It's not that easy. As said Joseph, we also wanted to, at the very beginning, we had in mind to make the Mekanika Barcelona, Mekanika Los Angeles, whatever, and they can also replicate the tools we are designing, or the community is designing. But I'm sure that's going to be the second or third step. But for now, we have to make that business sustainable, to refer the first question, and then we're going to be able to make it really, really open. But yes.
Well, as you can see, all of you watching this live or on YouTube later, building a business, it's to build a sustainable business, you need to go step by step, identify the problem, do some prototypes, launch a maybe an MVP product, then see how the community reacts and how the community improves even the product. They share feedback. When you're open source, people tend to share feedback in a much more constructive way. And Christina, as a co-founder of Wikifactory, you've been here since day one. Have you seen any other, how are companies using Wikifactory from a marketing point of view? I can imagine myself sharing my projects on Wikifactory, documenting everything, like using Wikifactory as a main repository. But have you seen any exciting project that has used Wikifactory in any innovative ways, marketing-wise?
Yeah, if you imagine the days where the innovative team lied within a big major company and a closed team within some hidden room in some department, that past, we are so beyond that. And not least because it's not a closed team anymore, but fundamentally because before those teams had to work privately when to bring about a product to market, it required a huge amount of investment into the factory, into specialized machines. And the fact is that nowadays, with our rapid prototyping machines and the network of rapid prototyping machines that there are worldwide, and the fact that we can share 3D designs and ship that recipe instead of the product becomes really exciting for any initiative or anyone that's trying to solve a problem with a new product or hardware. Before, you had to be part of those big companies, but now anyone can actually engage directly with their with the user that they're trying to resolve the problem to from the beginning, actually prototype and develop the product with them, making them the most loyal of customers, but fundamentally even part of the movement of where if I'm going to solve it to you, we can solve the problem for the millions of people who might be dealing with that specific problem. So, I mean, I don't want to add more cases to what is already amazing cases here, but I think this is the key thing where if you look at software, the developer community, when you open source, being able to build a developer community around your product fundamentally allowed to tap into the wisdom of the crowd, this idea that given enough eyeballs, all problems are shallow. And now, thanks to the fact that design is coming online, manufacturing is coming online as a network, well, we can actually face the major problems that the world is facing, the major environmental problems, the major social problems that we need to actually tackle. And how else are we going to tackle it if it's not through a movement of bright, talented people who want to contribute to such movement, and whereby we might bring about products that can be sold. And it's not that in open sourcing that you're going to actually affect your bottom line. I've seen many countless examples of whereby the market still is dictated to a certain extent by convenience. People like the guy or the friends that told you, Camilo, where can I buy it? As much as you build a developer community, there's going to be people who want to buy the kit and buy the kit because they need to make it more flexible. They might need the malleability, like in the case of the Mekanika machine, tinker or upgrade, or maybe there's aspects of my locality, my ability to source parts where I need a flexible kit. But then there's the next level of where I just want the kit assembled, sent to me, I'll pay the price of the fully assembled kit. But then what's also exciting is that digital fabrication and 3D design also makes it viable to then also suggest a premium product, the custom product, where the custom is almost free. And that is, like, for me, the great, gray zone that we've created, where yes, you want to make my product you entirely from end to end, go ahead. You're gonna find issues in the product that I hadn't even come across. You're gonna help improve it, whether it's in the documentation or in the use of it with X part or whatnot, in the periphery, in the long tail of possible contributions that the product needs, right? So it's only gonna get better. People who need a product that is flexible, that is because the current market only offers very standardized products, they're gonna buy your kit, because they need that flexibility that the market doesn't offer. And then the person who really likes your product is, because in building this developer community, they're your most avid ambassadors. Maybe they're not even, maybe they only contributed with a small little change, but they feel part of your initiative. They're going to spread the word wide and far about how you're changing X, Y, Z. So in effect, you get to broadcast in a very authentic way. And granted, there's no better marketing than something that's truly authentic and truly trying to solve an issue at hand.
I love what you said. Open source or the products or initiatives you have all started or you're working on, they offer infinite or almost infinite possibilities to the customers. The person that was going to buy the kit will be happy that the product is open source, and the person that wasn't going to buy the kit may say, hey, it's open source, I'm going to build my own version. But about supporting an initiative and buying the final product, Martin, I have a very big question for you, and it's, what is the potential of crowdfunding platforms? Because I know you launched a successful Kickstarter campaign early this year, and I want to know which is at least the biggest challenge for you, because people may think it's super easy, but it may not be that way.
It's not that way. Of course, it's not. It really depends what you want to do with the campaigns. Of course, we didn't expect such a success for sure. The first objective of the campaign was about visibility. Also, why we chose Kickstarter and not Indiegogo, or in the French-speaking part of the world, we also have local crowdfunding platforms, and also because we wanted to launch a new version of the CNC, because we've been now selling CNC kits for more than a year, and we were having a lot of feelings back from our customers that those things were not good, or we'd like to have another machine doing these things, blah, blah, blah. Many different things to improve. And we were also losing a lot of sales just because of the price of the machine. We wanted to make a really good product when we designed the machine, but maybe we did it a bit too good for most of the brand new users. So we decided, we really collected all the witnesses, and we decided to create the machine with this particular characteristic, which is it's evolving. So the CNC machine can evolve in time and get bigger, or also just you can improve the powers. You can also switch to our Pro model, so from the Evo model to the Pro model, which is stronger, more precise, and blah, blah, blah. But the main point is that you can start with a machine which is really affordable. And if you feel like making a business out of this machine, maybe in time you will need to improve that machine as well. And then you don't have to buy a new one. Actually, you can just buy an upgrade kit and then have a more powerful machine, or a machine who suits your needs. And then that was the product on the Kickstarter campaign. And how powerful it is. So as you've seen, it's quite powerful, as it was like 80% of the project in itself was financed. And it seems to be easy when you launch it. It all started super fast. I don't know, there were maybe 100,000 euros in 20 minutes. We were like, oh, wow, it's really going fast. But we worked a lot on the pre-campaign, of course. A lot of people, even me, I guess that was the first time, a lot of person just think that's going to start on day one of the campaign. Actually, it starts 2 months before. You are actually preparing all the contents, already doing Facebook ads, trying to gather all the media, trying to have interviews, articles, talking about the product.
Wow.
The main difficult thing is to create the moment, really the moment where you have to click to have the best deal. And we could see that there were 350% on the Kickstarter page in the minute we just launched the page. So the success is all around that momentum, let's say, of the 10 first minute you brought your page. So it's not easy.
it's definitely not easy what you're mentioning. Like you said you had to work 2 months just to prepare the campaign, right? And then it's just
Yes.
10 minutes of
I mean,
momentum.
it's not full time for 2 months, but you have to think about it really in advance, have a really good planning of what you're going to do at which moment, how many days before the launch would like to have that info to be out. Really creating this exciting momentum and really having people behind a screen at the moment where they have to click on the reward, and also having good rewards is a major point, of course. In our case, so as I said, it was more about visibility. We had much more than that because the idea is also to make pre-sales. In our case, we wanted also to verify that the product was weighted by people. And that's it. Yeah, those are the key things. Good planning, and also the money. I must say, it's not free to prepare all these campaigns. I don't know how much it costs us, but it's in 1,000 euros, of course. So yeah. It's not free at all. It really depends what you want to do with your campaign. If you just want to get 10,000 euros, 3,000 euros, or 200,000, so it's really different way of seeing it.
And Joseph or Camilo, have you launched or participated in any crowdfunding campaigns? I know, for example, that the precious plastic community, there are initiatives that are sort of spin-offs or part of the precious plastic community that have launched and successfully launched crowdfunding campaigns. Is precious plastic involved there?
No, we are pretty much hands off. Other than boosting from a marketing perspective, sometimes we highlight the fact that one is going on. But and we did one crowdfunding campaign for one of our versions of precious plastic as well. Yeah.
Okay, and Camilo, do you have any experience with crowdfunding, or have you seen any similar initiatives around educational robots? Any special like risks or interesting facts around this?
So actually, before Otto, I did a crowdfunding campaign with another guy, another robot. It was basically the first tangible RFID programming robot that it was aimed for 4 years old. It was successful, was pretty good. Then because of co-founders issues, like we split up, or basically he kicked me out. So then that's when I started to create Otto. And then I created Otto, and I was not thinking in crowdfunding, and somebody reached out to us that wanted to partner to make a crowdfunding. We say yes immediately, and there was a campaign. You can find it still, also successful. It was only around 11,000 US dollars because the video was terrible. I didn't even make it. It was supposed to be there's this partner, and this partner about to be bad. So at the end, we didn't earn nothing from that, and it just leave us in a very difficult situation, and we just have to lift out everything from the start. So that was also another thing that triggered the fact we need to create an e-commerce. Kind of like I can say now that the crowdfunding helped to also market our product, but it was the first moments to because there was also delays from this ex-partner. So we have to cover all those mistakes somehow. We have to really do a lot of cleaning of the people were talking bad about the project. It was really affecting us a lot. I wouldn't blame any to crowdfundings, of course. Crowdfundings are great, performance are great. This is more like a parallel issue I had, or an unfortunate thing that happened. But still, I think that crowdfundings were better before. I mean, I used to like them personally because, as Martin was saying, now you need a budget. It's kind of like the main idea of crowdfunding was that ideas can flourish. But now it's no, you need more than just an idea. You need the product completely finished. You need the logistics figured out, even though most of the people nowadays just chip 2-3 years late even. And you need video and marketing and pay ads and pay this and that, and then it's like not really accessible as it was the beginning. So you see that still, I mean, startups that have the budget can make it. I mean, we are actually planning a crowdfunding for this year, by the way, of our new product.
Wow.
So like, I think it's something good, but it seems like the barrier is a little bit like higher, and it's gonna be quite a challenge for us because you see a lot of edtech solutions in the crowdfundings. So we will see. We are gonna try our best, and please support us.
Good marketing campaign during this webinar.
Yeah.
As you've all seen, crowdfunding campaigns require a lot of preparation in advance to work closely with partners, and even if everything goes fine, if it's a successful campaign, there are still some risks related to fulfillment. And what you mentioned, Joseph, about just supporting with marketing and sharing what the community is doing makes a lot of sense, because any further involvement means a lot of work. I've been around the crowdfunding campaigns and Kickstarter and Indiegogo for years, and I completely agree with you, Camilo, when you say that the quality and the requirements have gone up by quite a bit, and now it's a little bit more difficult. But thankfully, as you all mentioned, there are many other different ways to generate a sustainable business, one being sharing open source and building something with the community. And now I want to sort of mix the last question I have with the Q&A, and this is something for you, Christina, and it's from your point of view as someone that is building a platform for this type of projects. How relevant do you think is the relationship with the community when talking about open products? Like, what's your approach there?
It's absolutely at the core. At the end of the day, it's that feedback with the community that one motivates you. I think every entrepreneur needs to find a source of motivation, because most startups fail because the founders or the team throw the towel, like they say. So it's very motivating on the one hand to be close to the community because they give you the reason for being. But fundamentally, on a product level, they are the ones that will really make sure that you've got product market fit, that you've got something that's actually of utility, that's actually testable. At the end of the day, I believe it was yourself, Augustine, that said, there's so many ideas around the world, and ideas are not necessarily original. It's actually putting it into practice, and you put into practice with the community, with your community of users or developers, and fundamentally involving that feedback, making sure that you bring down the barriers of collaboration and participation, so that there is the possibility of rapid prototyping or rapid iteration with your community. That's super exciting. So even from the point of crowdfunding, I wish for crowdfunding to actually go the next mile and actually realize the future products as a service, where once you've got backers, that's your 1,000 true fans, to use a term by Kevin Kelly, that you then build and scale towards. Or with, rather, so that you have your first release, but when the product improves, you can do a second release and do a crowd funding campaign with them, and maybe then the barriers to have reached your core community would have you would have retained them. So actually, to do a new crowdfunding, it's not so much about building a new community, but actually strengthening the community that you currently have. For me, this is really exciting. It's fundamentally, the game changer, being able to not just depend on the feedback of a small team, but of a whole global community. And granted, I think that the community is so key if it's global, because the idea that innovation, I upload and share my innovation here in Spain, and thinking that somewhere else, someone in the other side of the world is just going to plug and play it and use it in their localities is quite not correct. This is where open source is really exciting for real local utility. Things like local materials, local access to components, local agency and local knowledge is super key to really make a product work in a specific different locality. So this is where the community will really give you that tacit knowledge, that ground knowledge as to how something can truly be replicated on the other side of the world. I'm sure the precious plastic community has heard this and felt this. You know, you need the community to tell you both the peripheral issues that you've glossed over or the local requirements that you just had no awareness of.
Yeah, it's completely essential. There are many different approaches, but I would say that a pretty safe one, if you are a small entrepreneur and want to build a product, is share the problem, build a community around that problem, find a solution together, because it's the community itself, the one that will help you define the product that you will actually commercialize or launch. Because in the end, you may solve a problem no one actually is experiencing. So that's one very efficient way, in my opinion, especially with open hardware. And now it's Q&A time. We've got some very interesting questions from the viewers all around the world. And I got one question for you, Martin. It's Francisco Santos from YouTube. He's asking, how do team members justify their paid work or role to the community? And in this case, I would like to ask you to answer this, but I also want to ask you a question. And this also applies for you, Camilo. If, let's say, a community member makes an upgrade for a product, for your product, how do you feel, or how is that relationship in case they want to commercialize? Do you support those types of upgrades, community upgrades? Or would you like to like centralize manufacturing from your side to manage quality?
Okay, Camilo, do you want to answer first, or?
Go first, Camilo.
Okay. Well, actually, last year we started a program called the Otto Inventor. So 2 years ago, together with Wikifactory, actually, we made this Otto Remix Challenge. It was really successful, and it was towards that. The way we were doing it is like, okay, let's incentivize the community to create as many variations as possible, and let's document it in Wikifactory. So that was the goal. And then we have amazing prizes. We have a 3D printer for the first prize. We have kits, robot kits. That was kind of like the incentive for that. T-shirts, a lot of stuff. It was really fun. Then we thought like, yeah, but what if like they want to make a business of their creation? So then we launched last year the Otto Inventor program. That is still under test, and we have made some progress. So what happened is like, it was similar to the challenge, but people submitted inventions, things that they wanted to put in our issue. So many people create different robots. I actually have here the winner. The winner was this like little robot. It was an extension of Otto. If you see, I mean, the base is like Otto, and the rest is like what the inventor did. And we did this process of putting it into the shop is after the prototype, as I was mentioning before, one thing is the prototype, another thing is making it a product. So we have to make all that process, and we must say it is not still perfect, but it managed to make some sales. And what happens is like we give royalties to the inventor from every sale. And that's something we are testing. I cannot say it's totally successful because there's not much sales, but that's what we started as an idea to really incentivize the community to create and reward them at the same time.
That's fantastic. I really love when companies are proactive and they want to support the community from a sustainable business point of view. And Martin, what is Mekanika's approach there?
Yeah, so in our case, what we were doing till now is we don't have neither like a super huge community of users. As I was explaining before, we now mostly focus on selling our kits and asking to our users how do they feel with the machine? Is it okay for their needs, or whatever they notice we didn't. So what we do actually now, we're gonna, as Christina said, release a V2 of our Pro model of the CNC. And what we are doing is that we are asking all our users if they have something to say about the machine. So really trying to, when we need our users, I would more say that we have users now than really a community, because we have much more people to sell the kit to. So they are using the machine, but they never thought about the design and how is it assembled, and they don't have that much advice to give on how we could build it a better way. But they have a lot of things to say about tiny details on how to use the machine and what we could make more ergonomic for the end users. So to also answer Francisco Santos, how do we justify that we are paid? I mean, this is really our full-time job. Actually, we are 24/7 on it. If we wouldn't be paid, it would be really difficult to live. And we are not at the moment where we are really asking the community to be into Mekanika. As I said again before, that's the plan for step 2 or step 3, to really involve everyone, every users into it. And your question, Augustine, how can we pay people, someone who's really improving the machine for us? So we thought a lot about that, about how to organize the platform, maybe a bit like the Open Desk project, having a fee on who's the designer who did that modification, so he could get percentage of the final amount of the machine. So a lot of ideas, not enough time. And
never enough time.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say we have now a super big community. So the question about the work and how we are paid is not really relevant for now for us. But as I explained, we try to have feedback from our users to improve our machine. So that's how we work for now.
Awesome. Then the next question, Nufal Amar from LinkedIn. He's asking if there's a platform to find and share projects or exchange problems about rapid prototyping. I have a good answer for you. Go to wikifactory.com, sign up, and there you will find thousands of projects. You can share your own and you can exchange problems and ideas. Okay, wikifactory.com. Sorry for the spam. And the third question, this is for you, Joseph, and it's quite tricky. So the question is, what is the greatest need for open source distributed recycling to move forward? This is from Nicholas on YouTube.
Question, and also a difficult. I think first of all, yeah, joining our great start, because I think nobody has the right answers. Huge waste problem that we have. A community, whether it's ours or another, so you can help share information about. I think there's also a lot of consciousness. The fact that not the ultimate solution. We preventing. And what precious plastic is about is how to re-educate people about helping them understand that it is precious recycling process in the first place, which is really not truly an efficient way to be dealing with the problem. Our products to in the first place. Yeah, so that's my.
Yeah, it was a very difficult question, and now this is a very good question, and this is for you, Christina, as Wikifactory's co-founder. Davide from LinkedIn is asking, if you were approached by a company not working with an open source philosophy, which benefits would you highlight to convince them to switch to it?
Wow, what a good question.
Very good one.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, first of all, I would say that there's an exciting opportunity to move away from the market of many, or the mass market that we're trying to build a product for, to the market of the few. In fact, maybe the market of one. I think that's exciting. And so far that the market of the 20th century had to be dictated with mass manufacturing and therefore mass advertising, because the risk was on the company to have to expand on a big factory, produce thousands and thousands in the hopes that the market was going to like it. And if not, let's manufacture demand with advertising and make sure that they buy it. But fundamentally, with social technologies, we're able to reach that niche. And that niche might need a custom product. Digital fabrication, the amazing thing about it is that, to a certain extent, complexity is free. You can customize a product with not the similar cost. I wouldn't say it's for free. The efficiency is not perfect, but we're getting there, whereby actually I can solve a very niche community's need. And granted, niche products, typically custom products, have a value, inherent value, because prior to mass manufacturing, to have something custom made, was something that would have been artisan made. And granted, the digital artisans of today now can provide a custom product at a much affordable price, but still maybe at a higher price than the standard product. So if actually a product is not even available in the market, for that niche, well, you've resolved and found that exact community that would or market that will buy it. But even so, if it's currently served by the market, it tends to be through a product that's extremely expensive, in the thousands, tens of thousands of dollars or euros. So actually, I do think digital fabrication, in not having the cost of inventory, of stock, of having to produce a unit in large amount of units, you can actually produce that one-off to that one product, to that one person, at a price that's not the skyrocket cost of the custom mass manufactured product, but still at a price range that could be very interesting for you. And maybe you just need 1,000 fans or 1,000 people that you're resolving a problem for to keep afloat as a designer building that niche product for. So on the one hand, I would highlight that. I would also highlight indeed the value of mass customization. So if you did have a modular part, say a modular kit of, say, for example, XYZ Cargo, a project on Wikifactory for add-ons to a bike, for a cargo bike, it becomes really exciting to actually, you can start imagining in the cargo bike all these different parts of add-ons that you might want to build onto the bike. It doesn't make sense for you to develop all the component add-ons. Why don't you actually enable others to build the components for your product? So modularity here is very exciting. And of course, at the end of the day, well, which company wants to reinvent the wheel? And what open hardware allows is really to build on the shoulder of giants and really make sure that within your own department and versus other companies, you're not reinventing the wheel. If we're going to actually bring out innovative products, you might as well try to build on the shoulders of giants. And you can do that with open hardware.
That was a great answer, and we could just dedicate one whole webinar to that idea, to the ideas you shared. And we are running out of time, so I have one secret question, a personal question for today's guests, and it's: what are the 3 words you would use to describe how Wikifactory benefits product developers around the world? If you could define Wikifactory with 3 words, which ones would you choose? Camilo, you go first.
Really, I didn't even think about them. Well, I would say one is speed, great documentation. Well, that's already 3 words. Yeah, it's like, how to explain? I mean, if you really want to make sure that people access your open source project, I think is the best way. And that's why we switch from GitHub, or we were having it everywhere, like in Thingiverse, having the STL files, and then people have to find the code somewhere else. So I think integrated, easy documentation will be my answer.
Okay, great 3 words. Martin, which would be the 3 words you choose? You had some more time to think about it.
Let's say what I think is that whatever you want to do with your projects, once it's uploaded on the Wikifactory, you're visible. So it gives a lot of visibility to any designers, any creators. So whatever you want to make a business out of your product, or just want to have feedback from the community. So it's really good to have your design on Wikifactory for that. So I would say visibility. Of course, also the sharing and being able to have the feedback of everyone. And what could be the third one? Because of course, documentation and what Camilo said could be the same. Let's change and find something.
Well, in this case for Mekanika, I will say the third word is quality. I would say, because I can see the Mekanika's project quality because of the documentation. So it's a consequence of how well you prepared the project and shared it with the community. And Joseph,
no, sorry. Yeah.
No, do you have any fourth word? A bonus one? No? Okay.
No,
then,
I don't.
Not this time. Maybe next one. And Joseph, I know this is a tricky question for you because I know that some of the community members are part of Wikifactory. Which three words would you use to describe how open platforms in general benefit product developers around the world? Precious plastic product developers.
I was going to say powerful, and global, because I think, like, as everyone said today already, of distributed design and digital manufacturing is just, and the power of knowledge sharing is huge. It's been a differentiating factor. Is that they spread out there, and it's difficult to know where it is. So having it all in one place on Wikifactory is, I think, a huge advantage. Global. We have a global and a global team, and being able to work online, digital, distributed design. I think, it's actually thinking about using Wikifactory for an upcoming project we have in the Sahara Desert refugee camp, and we're going to be that platform distributed washing system in the desert.
That's great. That sounds amazing. And we are here to support. So for those of you who joined today for the first time, Remaking Industry is a webinar series hosted by Wikifactory that explores the inspiring innovations happening in what we call the Internet of Production. And how the next generation of ideas, like the ones you've shared, will be designed, manufactured, and distributed in the end. I invite all of you to visit wikifactory.com, discover the true potential of collaborative design with some of the most inspiring projects, including precious plastic projects, OttoDIY inventions, and the Mekanika CNC and different projects the community is working on. And I also invite you to try the different features we offer, like the new CAD tool, and we will soon announce some more features you will really, really love. Okay, so go to wikifactory.com right now, sign up, and check all the projects you can find there. Thank you very much to all the guests for your time. You already know this, but I truly admire what you're doing, and I personally hope that you can join us again in the near future. Stay tuned and see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.